Hey everyone, my name is Emily Teague. I'm a fashion and portrait photographer, and today is one of those videos where I get to talk about something that's constantly on my mind and in my heart, and that is visual storytelling. So we're taking what could just be an aesthetically pleasing image and we're adding depth to it. I started shooting almost 11 years ago, and while I've always had some element of storytelling with my work, I started really looking at it in a new way just in the past couple of years and exploring how I want to approach it. My goal currently is to make my audience wonder what's happening within the story, to capture a moment or multiple moments that have a past and future, as well as what you're currently seeing in the present. I want to create curiosity for my audience. For anyone that's new to visual storytelling, I feel like the idea can come off a little intimidating because how on earth do you decide what story to tell? So a good thing to keep in mind is that storytelling can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. The best way I've found to approach it is really just looking at it as play. To start simple, you can just take a look that you really love and build off of that. So I love this bohemian farm girl look, right? So our aesthetic, check. Now start asking yourself, if I was the main character in that world, what would I be doing? What different activities would I be up to? Is there something I'm curious about or maybe afraid of, excited for? Do I have a conflict in this story? Let yourself explore that world and just see where it goes. You can also create stories by looking at experiences you've lived or fantasized about, or even maybe a mix of the two. It could be a story that you've heard before or one that you've read. Again, keep it as simple or as complex as you like. Also keep in mind the story you're creating is going to help you and the rest of your team in creating this shoot. The way I've been approaching editorials lately is to start by finding a spark of inspiration, which might come from a concept, experience, a color palette. It could be images, music, paintings, whatever it is to start that inspiration. And then after that, start building a mood board out of that. As I'm adding to my mood board, I'm getting a better idea of what I want to convey, and it's also helping my team to understand the concept too. So after there's a visual reference of what you want aesthetically, you can start working on the feel of the world that you're creating. And a great place to start is through creating a playlist to keep solidifying the story. Music is so incredibly important on set, especially for your model to be able to really lean in and take on that character that you want. So match the music to the rest of the vibe, and you're one step closer to really making everything feel cohesive. All of these details are contributing to make something bigger. This is also why styling and makeup can be so important. It's all adding to that cohesive vision and world. Every choice that you make can match that vision, and if you do that, it's going to make for a more beautifully told story. I also like going on word journeys that can help the team with what I'm imagining for a story. So I recently shot this kind of gothic cowboy dream that I've been obsessed with, and I chose two models for this editorial. To help create a story and direct the models on what to do, and also direct myself on how to shoot these images, I wrote down and shared the following words with my team. We have vagabonds, outlaws, friends, partners, romantic tension, subtle romance, runaways, rough, hiding, secrets, on edge, cautious, freedom, whiskey evenings, desperation, what's going to happen. So the story for this editorial is basically these two outlaws are on the run and hiding out at this abandoned gas station. That one line covers the story, but then we can take it a step further and look at these two characters and start asking some questions. Are they lovers? Just friends? Maybe they don't even like each other. There's no wrong answers here, but it's going to be helpful to ask these questions and make these decisions before the day of the shoot. I decided I wanted to lean into the outlaw partnership side with maybe just a little bit of romantic tension in there, and so I started imagining that maybe they weren't in a relationship, but now they have, and they kind of start relying on each other with this desperate situation, and there's an element of care and romance, but keeping in mind romance isn't the main purpose for either of them, it's surviving this tense situation. So that was just some backstory that I decided for this editorial, and you might be looking at these images and being like, I don't know if you can actually tell that story from these. How are we supposed to know that they weren't in a relationship, but now maybe they might be and they're on the run from the law? And the answer is, that's okay. Your audience is always going to have their own interpretation of your story and what you're trying to say, but I want to promise you that if you can go through these steps of making the story as cohesive and thought out as you can, you're going to have stronger images than if you just tell people to show up and shoot with no plan. So you might be thinking, but I really want this audience to know that they're hiding from the law. What if at the gas station there's a poster on the wall and it has their two faces and it says wanted? This feels a little forced. It's spoon-feeding the information to the viewer instead of encouraging them to be curious. So instead of making anything too obvious, try leaning into that subtlety. With that said, I would absolutely encourage playing with props and set design. Just remember, you're creating a scene. Try to keep it as realistic to the world that you're trying to create. Okay, now let's think about lighting and color. These are two of the many storytelling tools that you have available to play with. Think about the emotion in the story that you want portrayed. You have to be deliberate with this. When you've decided what that emotion is, then figure out what the light and color to complement it would be. Also think about your framing and lens choice. The framing is the way the elements are arranged within the image. Your composition is how everything is laid out in that image. Everything within that frame contributes to the story you're trying to tell. The lens choice is the perspective of the audience. It's how they're seeing the world that you've created. Think about how different perspectives can evoke different emotional responses. Each lens is going to change the relationship between the subject and the background. That's all I've got for this short video covering storytelling. It's one of the topics closest to my heart, so if you're into this at all, or if you're curious about more thoughts or tips on storytelling, please let me know in the comments below, or let me know if there's anything else that you want to hear about. I'm always grateful for my Adorama community and the feedback that you leave me, and I will see you soon.